Sweeney in his home here. John really needs no introduction. He's been involved in Ballyfermot, as far as I know, for most of his life. Is that right?
That would be right. I came in here as a 26, 27-year-old. I had married and went to live in Sandymount. Was there for 2, maybe 3 years, and we won a house in Newlyweds, and so be it. When we got to Ballyfermot, I knew it as green fields when I was a young lad, but to see the amount of house that's been built there, we said to ourselves, we won't be long here. But we're 68, nearly 70 years, we're still here. There was a tiny incident led to that sort of decision. We were buying a house in Lily, which was his wife. We were buying a house in around Shelburne Road, Grand Canal Street there. And I went in to purchase the house, or sign the last forms. And the person who was interviewing me and looking at everything right suddenly stopped when he came to Ballyfermot. He said, "Oh." And he looked up, and I said to him, "Is there any problems?" So he said, no. Says, "I think you have a problem."
Yeah.
It's like, "I see, are you the manager? You're the one who makes the decision." "Oh, no, I'm only reviewing the thing." It's like, "You get me the manager." So the manager came out and he said, "What's the problem, Mr. Sweeney?" And poor Lily was standing beside me, didn't, well, she don't say she was dumb, she knew what was going on, but she didn't interfere or say anything. And I said to him, "I think you or your representative has a problem." Says, when he came to the word Ballyfermot, he jumped sort of and, "Oh, is there anything wrong?" Because it's like, if there's anything wrong, now's the time to fix it. And I'm going to fix it. I said, he obviously, or has this company got something in their mind about residents in Ballyfermot. Now I said, what you do with the money you're going to lend me for the house, which was already, as I said, in principle, I got my money, just signed the last thing. And I said to him, you can hold on to all of that money and educate yourself. And so be it. I'm in Ballyfermot ever since. It was the old racist, if you like to call it that thing, or discretion, or discrimination, whatever you like. Actually trying to put words into my mouth, but it wasn't on.
Yeah. And when you heard you had won the house in the flat in Sandymount, when you heard you won that, was there great excitement?
There was a certain amount of great excitement. There was the fact that we had a lovely apartment, or flat in them days, God be with the days, in Sandymount, Tritonville Road. It was adjacent to the city, and to my kind of work as a painter, and it was all over the place. It didn't matter where I lived, I could be anywhere. But we decided, we'd have a go at getting this house. So we had a look at the house, and that was in 19 Cole Park Green. And when we went to the house, it was a dog, a very heavy coated dog had been living in the house, and the thing to greet us was fleas.
That's silly.
And we stood aside, my wife got stuck in and cleaned up and that. And then they started to move people around to any place and every place. And at that stage, quite a number of the people who had come to Ballyfermot as newlyweds, but under the situation that prevailed with the houses that we were in, was houses that had been built for ex-tuberculosis patients in order to recuperate. And when the whole thing was cleaned up and everybody was able to go, there was these, I think there was about 400 houses in the whole city that the corporation had on their hands, but government had paid for them.
Yeah.
So they had to find a way of getting rid of them. So they set up a draw so that one could go into it. We were not on any waiting list. We went into a draw, so be it, we won houses. And you had the option. The first house I got was in 19 Cole Park Green, the Keyhole.
Yeah. And when you moved in there, then you had, what, 2 bedrooms?
There were 2 bedrooms. It was the old-fashioned style. You had your bathroom in the kitchen, which was a great adventure. You can imagine one person eating their breakfast, the other fellow scrubbing himself.
Yeah. Oh, you having your dinner?
There was a flap thing on top for the housewife or whoever doing their ironing or packing their stuff, whatever. But it came down, there was a problem set up with Dublin Corporation to all of us, that we were getting shifted anywhere and everywhere. Now, as I said from the beginning, it didn't matter to me, but there were some people in permanent employment in the area of Ballyfermot, in Chicore, Crumlin area, on the south side of the city, or some on the other side, the north side of the sea, but still adjacent to Ballyfermot. They could go to and from work. So we set up what was known as the Ballyfermot Newlyweds Association, and we challenged the corporation on that the people should have an option as to where they wanted to go, but they had to provide houses for us. Then we understood that we had to get out of the house we were in because they were a government subsidised house for extracurricular patients. And our proposition was people should have a choice, not wherever they want to go, and so we won our case. Yeah. So we got a number of houses. In fact, the houses that I'm living in now was the result of our development of these Ballyfermot Newlyweds.
Yeah, yeah.
And the corporation, after long and hard negotiations, did submit to our claim.
Yeah.
And as I said, we're still here in Ballyfermot.
And you picked this one off the...
We were the first actually in Ireland, in the Republic, at that time, to have the opportunity to pick your house off a drawing board. The houses weren't in existence. We went up to the old rent office in top of Claddagh Road or Spiddle Road, I can't remember which, and they had the drawings of the proposed houses, and you picked your houses.
Picked your houses, yeah.
Yeah.
And just as how many kids did you round us?
How many kids did I?
Yeah.
At that time, 3.
3. And eventually?
Eventually 6.
6.
5 girls, 1 boy.
1 boy. Yeah.
And all educated and developed in Ballyfermot. And thanks be to God, all done reasonably well for themselves, as had the vast majority, I know that for a fact, the vast majority of people in Ballyfermot were ordinary, which I terribly think is how working class people, everybody works. Whether the t-shirt or they have the same as the fellow who has to clean the sewers, we're all working men. And we set about getting on with the job.
I often wondered about that description myself, you know, why just working class people and middle class people, and as you say, we all have to work. And then you went into the Tenants Association. How
we developed that was the reason we set up the Tenants Association, in order that we would have a say in what was happening in Dublin Corporation. Because you got a letter through the post, such and such a thing is going to happen, you knew nothing. There was no discussion, there was no opinion sought on anybody, but Dublin Housing Department decided they do what they want to do, and we terminated that.
Yeah.
We had to have some sort of conversation, some sort of negotiations. And I think even the corporation themselves, Dublin Corporation, the city manager at the time, which was Mr. Feely, as far as I remember, was delighted what came out of it, because they were coming out of their shell as well as us. And we got to meet them face on. They were no longer just something in the mist that you didn't see, but we were actually talking of one human being to another. And I believe that should always be the case, where anything, families especially, and communities especially, where there should be solid conversation, negotiations, and everybody has the opportunity to know what's going on. And if people don't want to use that opportunity, fair enough, but it should be there. You should have a choice in what they're going to do with you. Not because you have a house, but because you have the right as a human being to make a decision as to what you want to do.
But with the Tenants Association too, you were involved in a lot of other things, even more than meeting Dublin Corporation and so on. You were involved a lot here in Ballyfermot, weren't you, through the Tenants Association?
Well, the funny thing about the whole thing is that none of us had any experience whatsoever. None of us were a trained negotiator. None of us was an accountant. None of us had any qualifications. But above all, we had no qualifications in regards to negotiations and talking. But out of sheer want to do what we want, we did qualify quite a number of the original 10 who were in the original association. And out of that we were able to get a situation with Dublin Corporation. And it must be said that the then city manager, Matthew Mackin, was very happy in the long run to have us doing that, because a lot of people understand there's a situation develops in Ireland, here in Ireland. You have councillors sitting elected, but the real power of making decisions is with the city manager. It's known as the Managerial Act. So while we tell the councillors, and that's exactly what they are, they're just councillors. They put their approval to certain bills. Most of them they cooperate with the local government officials.
Yeah.
But at the end of the day, it's the city manager who makes the real decisions. So we made sure that when we were negotiating, while we let the local councillors know what was going on, we did go to the person who was pulling the strings.
I know.
We were not puppets.
Yeah.
It was very important that we learned how to do that and how to do it right within the law, within all rights as tenants or whatever you like to call it. We had the right to talk and know exactly what was going on.
And what amazed me, like, and I was talking to one or two, that has been on the committee, and one or two of them said they couldn't read or write when they came out here. Which is fair enough. They went on to write books, they went on to negotiate, as you were saying, and what amazed me that you'd walked out of them meetings with fellas that had BComs and whatever after the name, and you just came out in a win-win situation.
Well, I'll tell you, for historical reasons, when most people in the late 40s, 48, 49, 50s, going into the 50s, into the middle 50s, and then we set up the Tenants Association. One of our big problems was, Ken, that when you talk to a person about Ballyfermot, now this is after maybe 5, 6, 7, 10 years we live in here. Well, where do you live? Well, I live in Ballyfermot, but I come from.
Yes.
I think that was the most important. As a psychological thing, we had to change the mind frame on that. Where do you live? Ballyfermot. That's where your family is. That's where your roots are going to be. That's where you're going to blossom. And as you said yourself a moment ago, and boy have we blossomed.
Oh yeah, I know well, yeah.
We have literally from Archbishop of Dublin, and God bless the man, but he also was a product of Ballyfermot. He was educated here, and we've had many priests and engineers with judges. We have a multiplicity of people who has their roots in Ballyfermot, as in other estates around the city. Let's make sure that.
I know
we're not just unique.
Yeah,
I think the things we do, and then another thing came into our mind, the fact of the opportunity to acquire property. I think every man or woman has the right to acquire property.
Yeah.
And the most important property in any man's life or any woman's life is 4 walls and a roof.
Yeah. And did that come about, the rent strike? How was that involved with what, after buying the property?
Well, the rent strike came about for the situation that prevailed at that time. We were paying what was known as a differential rent. 1/4 of your wages, or any member of the family who was working, 1/4 of their wages went to the rent. Now, at that time, there was also a great deal of private building, but it was done by associations. And in point of fact, in many cases where families had people out at work, they were paying more rent for a corporation house than people in Palmerstown, which didn't exist at that time. They were already building it. But in private dwelling, they were actually getting better value for their money and name. And we were paying. Now every member of the family, not just a husband or wife, but every member of the family who went to work became liable to pay 1/4 of their salary to differential rents. Now I admit that the wages were not big, but it was a handsome sum of money. So that's how we had this rent strikes and one thing and another.
And that went through a network, that went to Finglas, Cabra, it was a whole network.
We were a national, at that time we said we were small Dublin City corporation dwellers in their own little association, but suddenly we had to branch out and became national. It wasn't, it spread from Donegal to Cork.
Oh, did it? Went that far,
When the national strike came about, it has every council in the country. We united everybody in on the situations of prevailed at the time. In fact, everybody in the country who was in corporation or county council dwellings had a mousepiece.
I know what you mean, yeah.
And we took, well, it was a lot. We hadn't the money, it was costly, but we took a lot of legal advice. We had to look for a thing called precedent, where we had a right to say what we had to say, or right to go after it, which I'll come to in a minute, to read the word. And in that way, we were learners. And we had to learn very quickly.
Yeah.
Because we were negotiating and talking to professionals. That was their job.
Yeah. And when you were talking to one of these professionals, I think I remember you telling me one time you went to the ESV and the grid, something over the grid. Is that right?
Yeah, there was
What was
problems
that
with the
story?
grid.
That was it.
My memories begin to fade me on that one.
Yeah.
But we were having constant breakdowns. The wiring for the place, for the 4,886 houses, wasn't up to the standard of that amount of houses. So when the thing became constant, and the one day in the year that it really affected was Christmas Day. There was constant breakdowns. The poor and fortunate to have our turkey or ham or whatever they're saying, and bang, the DSB would go.
Yeah.
Because they only wired for a much lighter population. Now at that time too, Ken, the population was coming up to around about 43 to 4,000 people.
Here in Ballyfermot?
Yeah, but the average family at that time was about 8 people.
Yeah.
I mean, it's down now to 1.5.
Yeah.
But as I said, it was a remarkable time. But I found, and a lot of us found, that with Dublin Corporation and with all the corporations, in fact it was almost the policy of the government, that forward thinking was not on.
Yeah.
They didn't plan for the future. One instance to prove that, there was a fire in Thomond Road, and by the time the fire brigade got up, 2 houses were burnt to the ground and the keyhole, because the lad had parked his car on Thomond Road and they couldn't get up with the engine, and they hadn't enough hoses to send back into Dublin, get hoses all the way up, and by the time they'd done that, 2 houses were burnt to the ground. So we went into Dublin Corporation about 3 or 4 months after. We thought about all the situation that prevailed. We met Mr. Byrne, who was the chief executive of the housing department. And we explained to him our situation, but we also explained a proposition to try and solve that. And the problem was that on roads like Thomond Road were all very narrow, but also looked very well, as we were told, from the air.
Yeah.
But the problem was that when anybody parked a car on Thomond Road or other roads, or narrow roads like Ballyneely and all those, all very narrow, you couldn't get 2 cars up, or you couldn't get a fire engine up for certainty. So shoes were burnt down. And when we went to them and offered them an idea on that, was to allow people and subsidise them to take down the front railings, and those who had acquired a car for their convenience in the garden, and that would leave a road pretty clear, and our road pretty clear. And it's laughable when the answer we got. Mr. Byrne, who, as I said, chief executive of the housing department at that time, said, hang on lads, there's a good property, hang on, go and have a chat with a few lads. So we were left sitting there for 10 or 20, maybe a half an hour, and he came back and he said, no problem, says he. Oh, we were clapping ourselves on our back.
Yeah.
Oh, that was easy. He says, should there never be any cars in Ballyfermot?
So
Now that was
the
real forward thinking.
Yeah.
At the present moment, there's about 25,000 to 36,000 cars pass up and down the main road of Ballyfermot. And anybody who's cutting traps at the end of Ballyfermot or at the beginning of Ballyfermot from city knows all about that.
We were only talking there, myself and Sean. We were trying to get here. You want to see the traffic going up the main road there? Yeah.
So there'll never be a car in Ballyfermot.
Yeah.
They had no idea as to what was happening. The idea, the philosophy with the Dublin Corporation and other corporations, and even in Britain, I'm not knocking just we ourselves here, their idea was when you provide a man with a house, 4 walls and a roof, all his problems are solved. He doesn't have to worry anymore. The moment he steps across that threshold, his problems only begin.
Mm-hmm.
There's a family to be looked after, there's a situation of keeping it livable, and all the rest of them, those two people who are around, the father and the mother, to make sure the place is comfortable, they've heat and all that. That's all their responsibility.
Yeah, yeah.
So they had problems.
Yeah,
If you were living in a tent, you could live in the summer, but you couldn't live in the winter. You had no problem, so you just fold it up and go up to the next spot.
Yeah. And when did people start coming then to say, I am from Ballyfermot? You know?
It took a while. It took a while. And we had to respect their way of thinking, which wasn't, nobody put posters on the wall, you must say this. If you meet a person who said, I live in Ballyfermot, where I come from, well, why do you say that? Are you not satisfied in Ballyfermot? And then spread the word, gently. It's like passing the straw. He's going or she's going to say something to somebody else. And suddenly, and the schools, and some of the teachers that cooperated with us, it was identification. This was our home. This is where we were going to have a family, educate our children, and eventually die. This is where we spend our life. So we should cherish the piece of ground on which we're living. It's the biggest thing in our life. And it's our place we're in residence.
And then I'll skip on. How did you manage about the purchasing of the houses? I know you were heavily involved in that as well.
There was a lot of, actually, a lad from Crumlin, I think Hanley was his name. My memory's gone very bad, but myself, in the National Tenants Association, we were talking one night, and between one or two of us said, what about buying the houses? So then we had to find precedents where you could buy the houses, because we did approach Dublin Corporation, no way. So we went on a research trail, and we found that miners in South Wales, under retirement, had the right to purchase a house. And the reason that affected us, that our Housing Acts is from the Working Class Acts of 1868. All that's ever happened here, they've amended the Act, but they never changed the Act. We're still working on old British standards, or statutes. So then we worked on that precedent, that when there was somebody in that circle who was in under the Housing for the Working Class Acts, then we could make an attempt at purchasing the houses. And I must say, I think it was the best thing we ever done. People think, well, I have a house now, it's mine. And it was going to be much cheaper. All of us who purchased the houses within a month of signing the agreement and getting the things working, we all dropped in rent. Because we got going to the bank.
I know what you mean, yeah. And the banks were pretty good with...
Oh, well, yes, this house I'm living in now, I'll be quite honest with you, it was a corner house, adjacent to the main road. It had a certain amount of amenities. These were the last houses to be built in Ballyfermot for a number of years. And my house was, because of the corner house, it was 1,600. And thanks be to God, like a lot of others, they paid maybe 5, 6, 7 or 800. But then there was very prudent husbands and wives at that time. They were putting a little bit in the bank, and they suddenly said, why should we do that? Or we could pay off as much as we can, as quickly as we can, and live rent free. And that's what most of us done. Most of the people at that time had only about 1,000 or 900 of a balance. Save that kind of money, went into corporate and said, buying it, it was your house, no more rent.
My mother was the same. She bought out her house, and it was the best thing, she always said the best thing she ever done.
It was one of the best things she ever done. Again, I go back to a proverb, every man has the right to his own castle. Or woman. And there was another thing we changed with Dublin Corporation. When you acquire the house, as I did myself when the newlyweds, it was though my wife or anybody's wife didn't exist. It was the man who signed for the house. And he had the prerogative and right, literally, to throw them all out of the house at any particular time. So we changed the law on that in order to acquire the house, it had to be done and especially in the buying of the houses. This was most important, the buying of the house. This was stuck the key to get working on it. Both had to sign. So if the husband died or left the house or left the home, the wife was in charge of the house. It was her place. She didn't put him out. Or a number of other cases where things could happen, where there'd be only one left, but in most cases be death.
Yeah.
So all they had to do, come down to a police commissioner, bring an affidavit to prove that they're buying the house and they are the benefactor, or beneficiary I should say, to the house as being the wife, sign the house is hers. So because the two had their signatures on it, it was either one or the others. I think that's most important. It gave again rights to women who up to then had no rights, literally no rights. Everything was done through the husband. And we broke that. And as you know, there's been a lot of people shouting, and quite rightly.
And one thing I remember about that is, I remember the buying of the houses, I would have been only young at the time, was that you could see all the houses change, the different doors going in, the corporation paint was being done away with, you know what I mean, and all the different doors. You could nearly pick out who bought that house, you know, at that time.
Yeah, they're good, they're very noticeable. The character of the whole place changed within 9-12 months, the character of the place. And I don't think we ever bragged about it or anything like that.
No.
But we were landlords, if you like to use that terrible word, landlords. We were not lords. We were owners of our own dwelling. And thanks be to God, I think it was the biggest sale of houses on the day in which it became law. I think it was on the 5th or 6th of July. And I think 86,000 houses were purchased that day, nationally. And I'd say within 12 months, 2 years, maybe 3 years, everybody paid off their balance. Now the houses in Lower Ballyfermot, because they were a different plan to the ones we were living up here, were sold around about the 800, 900, depending on the location, depending on a number of things. Because in them they'd only one plug in the house.
No, I see.
We had fully plugged, a plug in every room at that time. So it began to catch on that electricity and things were happening. People were getting televisions and radio players and all this sort of thing, and people were cooking by electricity more than just gas. So they had put in extra plugs. At least there was a plug in the kitchen, and there was a plug in the sitting room, and then they eventually put them into bedrooms. And in that respect, the whole character was changed.
And could I bring you to another story? And you have a nice story here about Canon Troy and yourself.
The
famous Canon Troy.
The famous Canon Troy.
And it appeared in the paper.
I actually, you reminded me now, I have forgotten about poor old Canon Troy.
He did play an important part in Ballyfermot. I know a lot of people don't like him, but I think he was, very powerful. And you'd know that better than me. Well, I wouldn't,
I tell you, I'm beginning to come back now to memory. When we got into power, or with the newlyweds and then the Tenants Association, we began to do little things on our own. Winter Corporation or the gas company or the ESB and query about things like that. And suddenly out of the blue, Canon Troy came up to my place and told me that on the orders of the then Archbishop of Dublin, we were to dispense of this Tenants Association. It was a communist-led organisation, and some of us were told to clear back to Glasgow. Though I was never in Glasgow at that time, but I've been since. So we sat on it for a while and we thought about it. We said, well, why should we do that? So between ourselves and Canon Troy said that on the orders of Dr. McQuaid at the time, need I say, he was a very determined man, we were to pack up and go a couple of times. So eventually he told me I was going to be excommunicated. It didn't happen. It didn't happen.
But when there's something in the paper about you, in the national paper,
Oh yes.
yeah, you're coming to that, yeah.
Well,
That's good.
I had declared that, you know, we had the right, the church had no domination over where we lived, how we lived, or anything like that.
Yeah.
All we were expected to do as an individual is to do what we wanted to do in order to uphold the faith we were living in. And nobody has the right to question that, one way or the other. And nobody has the right to tell us what to do. We didn't break any national laws. We were not breaking any laws that would cause people hardship. They were talking to us as individuals. And we decided the church at that time was a very strong instrument, not only in Ireland but throughout the world. And I still uphold it. I keep my faith. I'll always keep my faith. But I'll always have opinions on it. It always needs change. It has to go with the people at times. But we decided that the church was at least 1,800 years ahead of us in getting out of problems. The moment they had a problem, the heads went down behind the barricades and they didn't stick up. So in order to get over our problems, we done exactly the same. No matter what was said on the pulpit or what was said about us privately and quietly to other people, we didn't answer. We didn't rise to the occasion to have an argument. So after 2 years, it was almost miraculous what happened. I went down with my wife Lily at the time and the children to midnight mass. And Ken came out onto the front of the church, they were up in the front altar, and he asked for people to give a hand during the communion. So nobody moved. Not a man moved, or a woman moved. He got a second time. So my wife was beside me and I said, Lily, I have an idea. Don't you dare! Don't you dare! It has to be done. So I was able to see, I walked up to Canon. I said, can I be of any help? Now at that time, I had not spoken to Canon Troy in 2 years. It would be good to him. He paused for a minute. I knew you think he didn't expect this to happen. Nor did I. I said, would you? I said, yes. I went down and Bob Cho and a few other lads, battling names now, went down and said, lads, you know, just keep them organised groups of the communion. I back to my seat. And I'm going, after the mass was finished, going across the road, an altar boy came, tapped me on the shoulder and says, Mr. Sweeney, Canon Troy said a happy Christmas. He came up to my house here and would not come into my house. He knocked on the door with his umbrella. He'd always carried an umbrella. Banged on the door. On a Saturday morning at 11 o'clock, that was his time. And he says, you know, you've got to get out. But then he came up that Saturday morning and says, oh, by the way, he says, you know, he says, you have your Christmas parties yet? Oh, yes, all we do. He said, where do you have, what is that? James Street, actually. So I know that's Parish Priest and Father Cunningham. And so we bring the people down there for the old age Christmas parties. Oh, no, he knew all about it at that time. So he said, oh, by the way, he says, you can have any hall. At that time, we were barred to all the halls, the Deal Sal, the Dominican. We had no halls in Ballyfermot.
Yeah. You weren't allowed in?
No, we were barred. And he said, oh, by the way, he says, do you still use the place or look over a place for the, oh, yes, we're doing that for Christmas party. Well, he says, they're all available, whatever one you want, you can have it. And that, believe it or not, broke the spell. And I must say, we became very, very firm friends. Right. He had his own way, I had my opinions, but didn't let that cross our friendship. We were friend. And I think when the man died, Father John Wall, who was a great little inspirer, and he's a wonderful man, came up and knocked on my door and he says, you're the first to know, says he. He's gone. He's dead.
Yeah. And you got on very well after that.
We got on very well.
Yeah. Like I know, looking at the social media and that, people either liked him or disliked him. You know, they felt he was too powerful for what he was. You know, but I know through other things, the cider drinking, the television that went out, and the bad news that went out, he was very proud of Ballyfermot, and he spoke out about that. You know, that shouldn't have been allowed. You know, and so on. But he praised Ballyfermot all the time. You know.
Well, there's a little story attached to that, and it even surprised me. But to his credit, he arranged a meeting with the city manager. And the city manager, we got an invitation from the city manager to this meeting in the City Hall. In the middle of the day, actually, we were working at that time out and work. And we went in there, and Charlie was there. And we sat around the table. And what it was to do, he was to declare that as and from that afternoon, in the company of the city manager and the Lord Mayor, they were disclaiming any kind of authority to negotiate on behalf of the people of Ballyfermot. It was the Tenants Association or whatever was there at the time. They were the true negotiators. And I admired him for that. It took a lot to do that because he was under the thumb of a very, very difficult, with all respect to the man, Archbishop McQuaid was a most difficult man. He had one line, and that was his. He was a very difficult man. But we did win over Charlie in the long run. And of course we were very lucky in some of the priests who came to the parish at that time. That was, I think, the beginning of light coming into the church, that ordinary participants, ordinary people who come to Mass or communion or whatever, have a right to know what's going on. They are all part of the church, not just the priests. We are the church.
Yeah.
We are the church. Not four walls and a roof. Don't make the mistake the corporation made when they built four walls and a roof and it said everybody's problem is solved. We are the church. And it depends on how we react. And I think we have, in fact, I might say at this time we've lost a revolutionary now at the moment in St. Matthew's, Father Joe. He's gone from our parish, and I'm sorry to agree, because he was a man with forward thinking. And we've got to do a lot of that. Now I'm now a 90-year-old, but we still got to keep thinking about the future. Yesterday's only history. Tomorrow is a mystery.
Good saying, very good saying. And tell us this, John, then, I know you went on to fight then for the swimming pool.
Swimming pool, the John was a dilapidated swimming pool, or messed around, and nobody seemed to in charge. We got that off. Eventually, that was what happened. We set the roots for it. All I've had to get it built. I admit that, and I'm quite proud of them. But we have now a fine recreational centre. A lovely swimming pool. But I'll admit that what we got in the beginning was very meagre, to say the least of it. But it did plant a seed.
And the women played a big part, didn't they?
A huge part.
In the tenants and the community association.
A huge part. I must say, Ken, without the women, there would be no association. For the amount of manpower they went in, was good, but meagre. But where the women came into it, they were the backbone, the forward bone, they were the brains. Everything we done, there was some women involved. If we wanted to have somebody coming to read, there'd all be 5 or 6 women. That's all right, look at, and you'll be sure a lovely reception will be set out for them to be proud of. Now the women, has to be said, they were really the masters of our progression. They played a great part. And I must say, with due respect to everybody, including myself, the participation at meetings where women were concerned, there was times you got, and I don't mean this now in a hand me down something, they were the thinkers. They fed me and everybody else how to develop the thinking. So they were the backbone of it.
And I believe at those meetings you used to spark sometimes, but you always left it behind the doors and you went out then, like that's how everyone wanted something in Ballyfermot and they wanted their way, but you just left it in the place and walked out.
Yeah, and again, it's like this. I think when we were at that point, and I chaired a lot of meetings, as did others, but I chaired a lot of meetings. I have one way of doing it. Everything we start, there's a point where we have to compromise. So when you find things going very bad, that's the time to say, stop. Stop. Don't try to continue it. You lose people or lose yourself. Stop. Find a compromise and come back and start again. And it works. In fact, some of, well, not all of them, in fact, anytime when, even on the motorway when I was going through, which we were going to knock down houses in Ballyfermot when we were extending the motorway, quite a number of women, including people from Chapel, it should be said, which would have literally put them off the face of the map, helped a great deal, and it's mostly women who came up with the ideas, they came up with the arguments as to why it should not be done. So we eventually convinced them, and I must say, I have thanks to RT, a new director, producer in RT, and one of the current affairs programs I director. See, that's a good program. We put on a program about what it would do. So we got the motorway moved back, and we got the tunnel under the motorway coming down Chapel Hill, widened and lit at all times. Originally, underneath that there was a tiny little funnel. I don't know if there are lights in it, but we moved the whole thing. The cars can move up and down.
Yeah.
It's still the old Portuguese.
I know what you mean. Yeah. And can I bring you back? I'm probably in one way going forward and going back, but Professor Copcutt, he played a bit of a part, didn't he?
Yeah, he did. And some of it I did were good, but again, another thing, yes, he did. Geoffrey Copcutt. He was a town planner, and he was involved in a couple of big towns or cities in England. And he was invited over here by another group who was helping us out. There were ex-university students and business people who were welcome, and he came over to advise them. And his ideas, again, was the fact of having forward planning.
Yeah.
Schools were very important, that you just didn't stick to the little agenda or form for teaching. Why, the idea is to open a child's mind to what's going on. If you want to dream. We all have dreams. To open that out and see what's in there. Again, that's what the great of. We had, how would I say it, boys and girls, or young men and young women, integrating in the vocational schools. Which again we were lucky at that time to have one of the great advisors on vocational, Mr. Trant, Anton Trant. We got a lot of help from him and other teachers in the area. Eventually we got a College of Music there. Now I'm not saying we're the best patrons to the College of Music, but nevertheless there's a College of Music in Ballyfermot. And people come from Cork, Limerick, Donegal, the College of Music now in Ballyfermot, and some of our own people. And I think music should play a great part in all of our lives.
And I think we can bring that back to the De La Salle brothers who taught the music as well.
They were very good.
Yeah.
The beautiful bands, and the accordion bands, and the trips to America, which they swept aboard. All these things have to be taken into consideration. And it just didn't happen miraculously. It had to be worked out. And again, thanks to the De La Salle brothers. They had an open mind. More than can be said for some people.
And what would you think now is the best thing, in your opinion, have you seen here happen in Ballyfermot? The best, some people say the cinema open, and some people say the credit union open, some say, what would you think was the best thing now that you planned for and it has worked out today? It's still here. Would it be anything like that?
Yeah, well, I think the best thing we ever done. There are other things that certainly changed our lifestyle. And you just mentioned a moment ago, the credit union. I mean, in the early 50s and 60s and 70s, Ballyfermot, as was the country, rampant in money lending and exorbitant amounts of money being taken from people. If you borrow, say, 5 shillings, you pay back £1. Now, that was, that's, if you look up on now, nothing, but it was a lot of money at that time.
Yeah.
The amount of interest they paid back to money lenders. And I think one of the things, there was an inquiry, in fact, a tribunal set up against the money lending, and that did help a great deal to make the government, and the government were at fault. They knew this was going on, but they didn't have these people licensed, they didn't have them under scrutiny, and I mean, there was maybe a little wealthy housewife on the road, or a man, or whoever, had a few bob, you could say, well, I can make a lot of money out of this. Yeah. If you're short, mate, give me a shout. If you want me to lend half a crown or 5 shillings, why would you pay me back £1?
It was always forward thinking all the time.
Yeah, it was a case of sticking up with the forward thinking. Yeah. And I did take part in the tribunal of inquiry into money lending, and it had a great bearing on what happened here in Ballyfermot, because at that time nobody was scrutinising the money lenders, but suddenly there were hundreds of some. Yeah. And I think it's, even at the moment, it's not strong enough. I mean, bankers charge exorbitant points and nobody seems to care about it. Mm-hmm. And people should be made in a situation where they can borrow a certain amount of money, pay it back rightly, pay interest, but not exorbitant, not over the top. Yeah. They have a right to borrow, but they have the right to, the obligation to pay it back. But that means paying it back is as to what is right.
Yeah. So, the way forward then, well, what would you say for the way forward for people?
Well, no, that's something, it's like if one, I don't think there's a crystal ball invented that you can do that.
Is there a need for a tenants association? Is there a need for associations?
Yeah. There's always need for organisation. There's always need. No multinational company, no banker group, no educational group goes on their own. They are all organised. There has to be somebody who has the time, effort and dedication to see that your eye is not being wiped, that you're getting a fair cut of the cake. And that can happen in all walks of life, but you must have spokesmen. You must have people who will give a certain amount of dedication to make sure that their fellow neighbour, their fellow human beings is getting a fair crack at the whip. Yeah. Otherwise, you wind up like a totalitarian state. One must only look at China and other places where a government explains how long you can always live. Yeah. And as I said, when people are organised and freely organised as to what they want and are getting it, that's the road to success.
Yeah, and the main thing would be that the Ballyfermot people would have a say in the future on what they. Yeah.
If you're not organised, you will never get the say. You're going into, in most cases, talking and working with professionals. Dublin Corporation have local government officials, same as Dublin, Dáil Éireann has civil servants working in the departments, of every department. It's not the minister makes the decisions, it's not the TDs that are elected make the decisions, it's the civil servants who tell them what to do, how to do it, and when to do it. Yeah. And unfortunately, we are a little lax in forward thinking. I mean, if you're going away on a camping, be it 1 camp or 10 camps or joining track camp, normally you sit down and think, what are the first things I've got to get together in order to make this thing work? Well, that's the way it should be, all of us. We're out to get the best out of life, and that has to be organised. And the best people to organise any kind of a community is the people themselves. If you want the help of professionals, it's there. If you have to pay them a salary, it should be there. But you need every bit of help to make life as comfortable and as easy and as joyful. In fact, you hate the day when you'll have to part with it. But that day will come. But acquire these things. Your fellow human beings, there's only two ready to help one another. It's how we go about it.
I asked you about the 18. I know you were heavily involved in that as well. Well, not only you. Now there was a group of people. And I keep on. I might just say you, but I know there has been a committee behind. You know what I mean for everything.
Yes, we became involved with the Dublin transport situation, especially Dublin bus, Core Super Iron at the time, and we set up a negotiating party with them in relation to the bus service in the city. Because when we came to Ballyfermot first, there was a bus into town and a bus out of town. Now when you got to town, if you go to Leary or Whitehall, or you had to wait for another bus, you might have to go 2 or 3 buses to get to your destination. We didn't know what was happening. There was no diversion of buses around the city. You went into town, out of town, and that was that. So we decided we'd get stuck into Port Super and see what was happening. Now we had a number of meetings. And of course we had negotiations with the local bus company in Parkgate Street. So we got to pretty pally with the manager down there. And I must say, I can't remember his full name, but I know his name was John. He was very good to us. And he was tip-offs what was happening, that sort of thing. And what really made us start up, as I said, you got into town and out of town, but there was no diversionary traffic. So we said to the CIE at the time, we should be able to step into the one bus and bring us to Cabra, or bring us to Crumlin, or bring us to Leary, or whatever, or maybe a short distance to pick up another connection. So we had a meeting with the CIE, and one of the meetings, the managing director, chief's man of, there was a man called Old Lamass, and he said, no, this could never happen. That if he was to make all the stops we wanted in Ballyfermot, all the things, that they'd never have the time to get out of Ballyfermot. And the answer to that was from us, are you in the business of making money? He said, well, yes. Well, I said, if it appeared to us, you're not. If you put buses in Ballyfermot and that we can travel from a city or to other parts of the city, you'll have your biggest budget you ever handled. And when that came about, that was the case. And the first introduction to that was the 18, the diverse from into town now. We went across up Kylemore Road, over into Watkinson, all the towns we went to. We Temple Oak, everywhere was on the line down to Ball's Bridge, right onto the wall of Sandymount. And that was the beginning of a good idea bearing fruit. Even CIE admitted that. Because from the first day they brought the 18 bus to Ballyfermot, they emptied the bags of the conductors at that time. They never had seen the like of them before. They were so full of money. So many people taking the short hops, like people at the top of Ballyfermot here, just downstairs, just on a bus. Or maybe over to the Longboy Road, to Kimmage. People coming and going. But in arguments against that was the actual CEO of Bus Éireann at the time, or Core Super Éireann. He said they couldn't afford to be stopping that often for people picking up. And our answer that was, as I said a moment ago, we're in the business of making money. That's how you make your money. You stop, you pick up people, they pay a fare and they get off. Somebody else comes in. So it was, again, that was contributed to the diversionary situation. And as you know, we have probably the best service in the country now. We're 18 minutes only from the airport. We're 18 or 19 minutes from a railway station. We have the Lewis running down the nice road, no distance away. I mean, you couldn't live in a better place.
Yeah. And it was like history repeating itself. The alien was bringing you back to Sandymount where you started out from.
Exactly.
It's great. It's great.
But I didn't make a mistake. We didn't make a mistake in coming to Ballyfermot. We didn't think we'd stay here. But fate and things happening in life changes a lot of things that you can't anticipate.
Yeah.
But you have to cope with them. And in very many cases, it was the right thing to do. All my children were educated, not only here because there were no secondary schools here at the time. They went down to Golden Bridge. I'm sorry to say, but that's the way the situation was. And maybe we were a bit too ambitious, but we wanted a secondary education for our children, so they went to Golden Bridge. I had 5 girls and 1 boy, and all of them went to do secondary education. And as we know now, we have people who've climbed the highest ladder in the world for the fact that we have the Great Deal of Sal, we have the Dominicans, we had the Daughters of Charity, all teaching ready for university, which I think so many of our children now are all, as a matter of life, university. I mean, very many don't start work now till 25 and 26 and 27 because they're
It's just fantastic.
And that's fantastic.
It is, yeah.
It really is. It's the icing on the cake. Education is the most important thing in anybody's life. I may have the quotation wrong. Today I take you to fish. Tomorrow I teach you how to fish.
Yeah. I think we leave it at that, Sean. We'll end up by saying goodbye. They're all right, Sean. Well done as usual. Well done. Yeah.
Well now, I'm 92, so that could be the finale.
Yeah, 92.
Yeah, I really do.
Well, all that's left for me to say is thank you, John.
Oh no, you've been a good friend.
Oh, sure.
And that's really it. And of course, only the girl will tell you.
But I know you've done so much, and now again,
not on my
I know,
not
on your own. I know.
Goes to the people, no matter how you look at it.
Yeah.
I mean, that camera will not work, no matter how well you try it, unless he's at the back of it.
That's right.
It still needs the human touch.
Yeah.
You've all the gimmicks in the world,
Yeah.
but if somebody doesn't press the button and thinks they're still a human being, nothing will happen.
And thanks very much, John, for all you've done for Ballyfermot. I know you've done a lot. And your team.
Oh God, I'm the last of them. Every one of them.
Yeah. And thanks to Sean as well for recording this. It's just fantastic.
But all gone. Every
history.
one of the people that built this place are all gone.
Yeah.
I'm 92 years of age now.
Yeah.
Feel long life.
You've done a great job.
It was sad at times because some of them died reasonably young and things happen that nobody'd like to happen, but that's the way life is.
Yeah. I know. Okay, we can leave it there now, John, and thanks very much for this history. This is a great bit of history. Thanks very much, and I know you had a great team behind you as well, and with you, should I say, rather than behind you, with you working for the future of Ballyfermot.
Well, all I can say on that is, we were like, and at that time they hadn't the ladies, but we had in our day, we were like the fellows that used to dip their hand in the G&C, all the thinkers, wobble their feet and use their brains.
Brilliant.
We were doing the same thing.
Yeah.
There's always somebody to stand up and say, why not? Can't we do it? Why not?
I think we leave it there, and I want to thank Sean as well for